Okay, so what I'm going to try and do is show setting up the Nittany Vagrant package where you download a site from a remote server and set it up inside the virtual machine. If you want to find Nittany Vagrant, it's on GitHub, psudug/Nittany-Vagrant. So I just want to git clone the project into a directory. This takes a couple seconds or longer depending. So here we are, Vagrant files. Just do a standard Vagrant up. And actually I don't want to do that. I want to do a time Vagrant up to see how long this actually takes. And it will take a while, so I won't sit here and talk my way through it. I will just cut away and come back when it actually finishes installing, whenever that might be. Okay, so we're all done here. Everything's been downloaded, compiled, dealt with. Took about 5 minutes. So I want to do a Vagrant SSH to log into the virtual machine. Might take a second or two. That'll kick off the wizard script that does all of the shell scripting and such to do the install. So I'm going to go ahead and start that. Type in an email address. One RSA key, don't really need a passphrase. It's all set. Now I want to go ahead and install Drupal. And what I want to do here is option number 4, which is pull in a site from another server. Type in 4. Now I need the name of the server, which I'm going to pull from an Earth and Mineral Science server. It's a site that I've done before. My username, port number. Then I need to log in once. Now I need the site name, or the site directory where it lives on the server. As you can see, it's just a regular Drupal site. Drush needs to be installed on the server for this to work correctly. Occasionally it won't work, but I'll get into that later. And the directory structure, you need to have the trailing slash. It's going to do a database dump. Then it'll do an rsync. Hide that window. Don't need any more. The rsync can take a long time depending on how big your remote site is. So we'll let that sit for a minute or two. Okay, so we're back. It's pulled everything down and it's starting to set up Drupal. It's going to drop all the database tables in the fake install that it's set up, and then use the SQL dump from the remote server and insert that in there. It's done a little cleanup on the Drupal install using registry rebuild, which is a fairly useful module. And yeah, okay, so now I want to sanitize the database, which basically resets the passwords for all the user accounts, gets rid of the sessions table, which is a nice cleanup. The go local means to remove some of the Penn State specific modules that you might use, like web access. This site doesn't use that, so I don't really need to do that. I'll hit no. Now, since we've already pulled down a site, I don't need to install any of these other Nittany modules or lists modules or anything like that, so I'll just continue to hit no all the way through this process. I don't need search engine optimization, WYSIWYG, version control. Don't need front end. I'm just going to, like I said, just keep hitting no until we get to the end. And now we're all done. So basically you go to the nittany.psudug.dev, which you would have set up when you're doing Vagrant. Let's go here and do that. And if all works well, I should have a copy of the Earth and Space Science Partnership website. But it's running on my local machine. I should even be able to log into it. Sometimes this part doesn't always work. I'm not sure why, but log in. And I'm running as administrator. So everything here will work like your Drupal site that you've just pulled down from the remote server. Hopefully. You might have some unusual issues with caching or things like that. Now, when it fails, there's actually a couple of things that can go wrong here. So what do I want to do? One thing that if it fails that you can do is you can remove the Nittany ran.txt file here, exit, do an Vagrant SSH again. It'll start the whole process over, but I don't necessarily want to do that. Again, here are my files where the directory all lives. The other thing that occasionally will help is there is at the root of the VM this Vagrant directory where it's kind of mounting your local system's Vagrant directory here. If you go into the scripts directory, you'll see a bunch of directories there. Inside that there's a Drupal directory, and inside that there's a distros directory. Here are some of the shell scripts that actually help you set up Drupal. That /pull-down.sh file is actually the wizard that runs to do the pull down from the remote site. So let's just look at that for a second. The trick that I always run into, and I've had this happen on a couple sites, is things tend to fail in weird places. For example, this line here, I've had it fail on the drush. I've had it fail with this file name. What you can do is edit this file and, for instance, put in the full path drush, or put in the full path the way you want this SQL file to be created, and then basically rerun the whole install. You know, exit from the virtual machine, remove the wizard _ran.txt file, exit out of the virtual machine, SSH back in, start it over again and see what happens. I think I've had it fail in one other weird spot, but this is the one that always seems to catch me out. I've had it fail on a remote web host where it didn't work. I've had it fail on even on this ESSP site occasionally, but that may be down to doing things like forgetting that trailing slash. I don't think there's any other places where that's going to probably fail. But this is the line. If you have any problems with things like it can't find drush on the remote server, has some problem with that SQL file, you can look here. I don't think there's anything else. If you change the path here, you might want to change it here as well, just so that you're grabbing that file. I've even remotely done the dump, or logged into my remote machine, done the dump, and then just changed this line here to make sure that I get the file that I want. So that's really all you need to do. If you have any problems setting this up, go to the Nittany Vagrant page, go into issues. As you can see, I've had a few problems with the site import. Put an issue in the queue, and we'll take care of it.